Living east side versus west side. There are a bunch of things that come to mind when talking to clients about relocating to Bend. But one of the more interesting conversations we tend to have revolves around whether or not to live on the east side or the west side. And apparently this is a big decision. So we did a video about a year ago, it's almost been two, about the differences between living on the east side versus the west side. And now it's a little bit further down the road, things are just a little bit different. And so we're gonna revisit this topic today because things have changed. Well, sort of. Let's talk through the biggies first off, and then later we can discuss some of these subtle little details involved here. The first major concern is the price point. It is much more expensive on the west side of town, and it's always been the case. Just look at these two lines here. These are home values based on zip code. Now, it is widely known that 97701 is the east side, and most notably the northeast side, and 97703 is the west side, most notably the northwest side. But just look at how dramatic those home values are. Now, if it's hard to see, I'll just tell you that 97703 was, in October, $975,000. That's the median price. And in 97701, the median price in October was $600,000. That is a huge difference. Now, the question is, are the homes just nicer on the west side, or is there more actual perceived value being located on the west side? And I'll tell you, the answer is both. Yes, there are far more upscale neighborhoods such as Northwest Crossing and Broken Top and Tethrow. I mean, most of the neighborhoods on that side of town are on the higher end, certainly, as far as construction goes. But also, there is a higher perceived value on the west side. I think that if you had two identical homes, one on the east side and one on the west side, the one on the west side would almost certainly be valued more or be worth more. Now, exactly identifying how much more there's a ton of variables involved there, but I can definitely tell you that the one on the west side would be worth more. Well, that settles it then. The west side is better. I mean, if the perceived value for a house on one side of town is more than the other, and it's the same house, I mean, the values are obviously higher. It's gotta mean that the west side is better, right? Obviously. Tell you what, thanks for stopping by. Go ahead, hit the smash button and the like, and go ahead, leave a comment down below on why you're excited about moving to the west side, and we'll just go ahead and wrap this video up right here and now, right? No. There's way more to dive into here. What about the views, the amenities, the traffic, all of that? Let's see. Now, I think that there are potentially better views on the east side. When you're on Empire, those mountains look pretty fantastic. But again, also, if you own a $2 million house on Aubrey Butte that faces west, I mean, you just can't beat those views. You just can't. However, there are just fewer and further between homes that are actually over there like that have those views. So it's hard to say that one side has definitely better views than the other. But I do think that the east side views are better, the far east side views. And it's just because you can see further, you're further back, and the views are more panoramic, I suppose. I mean, Brasada, while not technically what we're talking about here because it's quite a ways outside of town, but those views are spectacular, if you know what I mean. The amenities are also another huge factor when it comes to talking about which side of town you want to call home. But both sides really have all the basics. Grocery stores, restaurants, shopping, kids' activities. But yes, the west side has more, much more. And the reason for that is all of the hot kind of downtown areas are all located on the west side. The old mill, the box factory, which is super popular right now, the Galveston corridor, and even the downtown, meaning Wall and Bond Street. That's all on the west side. So if you're looking to be super close to all of that, west side it is. But the flip side of that is that it's become much better over on the east side over the past 5 years or so. We have a growing number of breweries, food truck lots, all kinds of shopping. Oh, and the big thing is that we have the hospital on the east side, and there's more on the way. with a new commercial section coming to the corner of 27th and Reed Market, a new marketplace coming to the brand new Polish Easton development, and then the Stevens Tract Road project is also expected to have a lot of commercial development happening there as well. The Southeast, over the next 10 years, is going to explode. Now, one thing that I mention all the time, and it's really hard to explain, is the topography of Bend. But it does actually mean something, and it does affect people's decisions on where they want to move in a big way. Bend, it sits on a tree line, sort of, meaning that the west side has a larger concentration of those big, beautiful pine trees called ponderosas, and they're just spectacular. It really creates this nice wooded feeling where it feels like you're living in the forest. It gives it that nice mountain town feel, which is what everybody wants out of Bend, right? It is a mountain town. And when you live on the west side with the ponderosas everywhere, it really feels that way. The east side is different. It's less ponderosa trees, more juniper trees. Juniper trees are kind of like those deserty ones that are kind of short and ugly, not so much fun to look at. And they have a way of making things feel more deserty. But of course, we are on the high desert. So if that's what you're into, the high desert and the east side is where it's at. But it's more than just a tree line. The weather is different too, especially the winter. I don't know how it can change that much in just a few miles, but it does. The west side gets more snow. Fact. Almost every single time we get snow in Bend, the west side doubles what falls on the east side. Now that might be nice if you're looking for more snow because you're a big winter sports enthusiast and you just can't wait to get up the mountain, and you know, that's kind of a requirement around here. But the problem is the west side also has more hills.
Stay in your car.
So getting around or even just getting out of your driveway can be a challenge sometimes. Then pair that with the giant ponderosa trees that I mentioned earlier. They create more shade, the sun doesn't allow the snow to melt away, so you get more ice. And the west side can be tricky to navigate on occasion. Just something to consider. The west side is also far more congested. There's just a lot going on over there, here, there, on the west side. We mentioned before that downtown is on the west side, but also the Deschutes River is on the west side, the community college is on the west side, the old mill district is on the west side, and now the new Oregon State University campus is also on the west side. And finally, just about all of the possible developable land on the west side, all the way up to the Deschutes National Forest, is also in some phase of development. It's all done and full. So even though it's technically landlocked, meaning there can't be any more development, there's still a lot going on over there, here, wherever. The east side is, well, less touristy, less downtownish, and well, certainly less expensive as far as the homes go. But it's more neighborhood oriented. It's considerably quieter, even a little flatter. The traffic is much less. However, sometimes the major arterial streets can get pretty busy, but it's still nothing like over on the west side. Now, I'm also not saying that there aren't nice homes on the east side. There certainly are. There are some fantastic neighborhoods over on the east side. And there are some really great neighborhoods that are nestled in the Ponderosa Pines, because there are some of them over there too. They're just not quite as many. All in all, it doesn't matter to me what side of town you live on. There are certainly merits to both. I work on one side, I live on the other. I get to experience both sides of town every single day, and I've got to tell you, I don't really know that there's a right or wrong answer to this question. It's all a matter of what you like and what you want and what your lifestyle is. If you just have to be able to ride a mountain bike out your front door and get to the trails and head all the way into the forest, then yeah, maybe the west side is for you. Of course, if you could also bear a 5-minute drive with your mountain bike in your car to get to the west side, well, because town really is that small, it's not that big of a deal, well then, you know, maybe the east side's calling your name. If you're thinking about moving to the area, my advice would be to actually drive around and turn into neighborhoods. We have a bunch of neighborhood tours on this channel that you can watch as well, but I really think it's important to spend some time in the car driving around the area. And again, when the time is right and you're ready to make that move, my team and I would love to be your resource of choice. Feel free to reach out to us at krommrealestate.com and connect with us on our other various social media platforms. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you over on the next video.